Alright, so I figured I would do a little bit of a shop update. The main project that I've been trying, main project that I'm supposed to be working on is making a new pulley for this, or to replace this guy. This is for the John Deere 400 mower deck gearbox. So this was my second idea. My first idea I scrapped several months ago because it was a real pain in the ass. This one is definitely going in a better direction and definitely less of a pain in the ass, but I'm changing my mind yet again. This is an oddball pulley that I had scrounged up at Century a couple months ago when I think it was the same time I scrounged this up. And I had kind of tossed the idea back and forth about using this or using this entire time. But last night, or actually I think early this morning, it just dawned on me that I had some thin sheet metal, well, not so thin sheet metal laying around that I could make essentially a hub for and use partially as a spacer to make this adapt to 5/8 inch thickness V-belts fairly easily. Luckily this just happens to be the right size that I need, and it would also be much lighter weight. So I'm thinking I've got a larger diameter version of this. I don't know if that's what I'll use or if I'll use something a little bit thicker, but the idea is basically to sandwich it together and beef up the thickness just a little bit so that it'll run 5/8 inch thick belts, and then weld this to the shaft or to the hub material that I wind up using. So I'm still working out the details, but this is probably the direction I'm going to go. And then I'll probably just cut or drill a series of holes through this and essentially spot weld, so to speak, from the pulley material on both sides to whatever I use as the core material. So anyways, that's that little project going in a different direction. Another interesting thing is I keep seeing people using these little squeeze bottle thingies for oiling on this project or that project. So I figured I'd get me a cheap set of them from Amazon, and they just arrived today. Just cute little guys with a few different nozzles. So this one I've got new oil in. This is old used oil. And here's some of the different tips. Almost looks more like a hypodermic needle than anything. This one's bent. I don't know if it'll show up in the shot or not. Probably too fine for me to use with motor oil, but maybe I'll dedicate one of these for WD-40 eventually also. So the other thing that I was trying to do, which kind of went sideways on me, this was my error. So I've been contemplating taking a cheap caliper and rigging up a mounting system for X and Y on this mill and making it modular to where I can take it off of the mill, take it over to the lathe or the other lathe, and use it for carriage travel on that. But unfortunately, the thing that I didn't pay attention to, this only reads to hundredths of an inch. It doesn't read to thousandths of an inch. So I was hoping that the plastic version was going to work out because it'd be lighter weight. I wouldn't feel bad about, chopping off bits and pieces of it to modify and make it mount to a machine. But I just, I think even I can do a little bit better than hundredths of an inch in accuracy. At least I hope I'm getting there. So at any rate, I've got more expensive version ordered and on its way from Amazon, but I'm going to keep this one around anyways because God only knows I can always use new things to measure with. So, at any rate, hopefully in another week or so, the new caliper will show up and I'll start dinking around with making adapters to mount it on the mill, seeing as it's already got a slot there for itty bitty baby T-nuts, and they've already drilled a hole in there. Seeing as, you know, this thing is like 100 years old or nearly 100 years old, I don't want to go drilling a bunch of holes in it here, there, and everywhere and, you know, modifying it. So I'm going to try and use what's already existing as possible and see what happens. So that's everything that I can think of for today.